Hey there, Scott here, and I'm excited to explain how we are building a new generation tool for testing modern backends. So why did we build HyperTest? Modern services are distributed, and just having unit tests is not enough. They just check the core logic inside the service, but not all its dependencies. Developers need to verify if a code change has propagated without failure across APIs, database calls, queues, or inter-service contracts, that is, every integration layer. This is why we aim to make integration testing easy for developers so that they have complete confidence on every change before they go live. And all this without having to write any tests. If this makes sense, let's see who it helps. This is how the service mesh of any modern application on service-oriented architecture look like. As services change rapidly, failures happen when changes in downstreams break upstreams, and developers are caught unaware. These failures are the hardest to detect because teams have little visibility on how services depend on each other. This should not be the case, so we built HyperTest to eliminate these failures by giving teams integration tests built directly from application traffic. This helps them test actual behavior, not just code. Let's see how this works. HyperTest works on the principle of record and replay. You can record tests from any environment and replay them to test a new build later. Start by setting up HyperTest SDK in one or all of your backend services. Using environment variables make it to record traffic from any environment every time the service is deployed. These become the tests that devs can use later. Let's see what it records. HyperTest records the end-to-end trace of every incoming request for a service. This means the request, outbound calls, the response of the outbound systems, and the response of the service itself happens 24/7 for HyperTest to build a high-coverage test suite in just a few hours. What it records becomes the baseline behavior of your app. Let's see how to use these tests. You can run these tests locally before committing or pushing code, or as part of CI/CD pipelines during pull requests. These tests are built for every service. When testing a service, it intelligently mocks its dependencies so that you test them in the desired state. This way, automatically verify failures in code and integrations without writing any tests. Let's see the kind of failures it can catch. HyperTest tests code, APIs, data layer message queues, and inter-service calls. Here is an example of a contract failure and a data error that HyperTest reports in the API response. Like tests, assertions are also automatically generated. It is probably the only tool that can test all types of queue producers and consumers, be it Kafka, RabbitMQ, SQS, or others. It also tests inter-service calls, but has the ability to catch data integrity changes or modifications that other contract testing tools can't. The icing on the cake is the code coverage report. HyperTest records requests and outbound calls and tests them in replay in exactly the same context. This allows it to accurately point out the number and exact code paths that get tested. This helps developers get the confidence they need before every sign-off. Developers can also configure to run these tests with CI when raising a PR. These tests can be run locally like unit tests using pre-push or pre-commit hooks. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to know how to install HyperTest to get started, check our setup guide available as a separate video.